conquered all of Europe. We're never gonna stop. From Palestine to Turkey, we've won the fucking lot. But Patriot was Shankly, the fields of our field goal. We are all supporters, and we come from Liverpool.
G'day everyone, and welcome to the match debate for this week. I can see Pete there laughing already. He's excited to. You're just excited to get on with the match debating, aren't you? I said I would make these jokes all the way through, and unfortunately, I'm going for the cheap humor. Pete is excited to match debate tonight, aren't you?
I'm just excited that there's a game to look forward to this weekend. That's all.
I know. How boring was it last week? My goodness. I mean, we physically can't debate a match because there haven't been any matches. But as you've heard just then, that was Pete. We are also joined by Nick. How you going, Nick?
Very well. Thank you very much, lads. Very, very good on this Monday evening. Back to some normality for myself, back at work. So I'm trying to remember what it's like waking up at a reasonable, decent, hard-working hour.
Yes, those of us in Australia are still, in parts of Australia, are in lockdown. I'm in Queensland, so we're not in lockdown. But yeah, sorry, guys, had to rub that one in. But other states are still doing it tough. So soz to you guys. I do feel for you. I've been... Yeah, well, I've done 6 weeks of hotel quarantine, so you know what? I've earned this break. But we're also joined here on the match debate by a very special guest. We are joined by Zane from Zane Talks Sports. How you going, Zane? And I have pronounced that correctly, haven't I?
You have, yeah. I'm doing well, guys. Hope you are all doing well as well. And thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, well, we want to get straight stuck into it because obviously there was no match this week, but we thought we'd just kind of do a recap as to what was going on in the world around Liverpool. Now, very quickly, this is the first show we're doing that is not on the Twitter. So if anybody has seen our tweets on Twitter, I mean, hopefully they've come over here. But yeah, we're going to be doing this exclusively on YouTube. So hopefully we do get those YouTubers coming in and make sure that if you are coming from Twitter, you have seen our post, that you do like and subscribe so that you can get notified whenever these shows sort of come on. Now, Zane, I just wanted to very quickly ask you about, a little bit about your background, because I'm sure people want to know more about, a new guest on the show. Everybody knows about me, Pete, and Nick. They're probably sick of us. But I can detect a bit of an accent. So you're based in the UK, because you said it's Monday morning in the United Kingdom, yes. But you're from elsewhere, I'm assuming?
Yeah, so originally I'm from Latvia. Like, I've lived in many countries, to be fair, during my life, but yeah, originally from Latvia.
And Latvia, so we were talking about this before, and I got the name right. There is, you guys were home to Marian Pahars. I used to use him on FIFA when I was a very young child, but he was the Southampton striker, correct? And there he is, Marian Pahars. You got a book? That's incredible. Yeah. Nice. Do you know him? Did you live across the road from him or something? Is Latvia that small?
I don't know him. I was supposed to interview him the last time when I was in Latvia, but it was his 40th birthday, so he was like celebrating, so I couldn't get to him. But next time.
And you weren't invited?
I wasn't, unfortunately.
No.
Maybe for the 50th.
Well, that's incredible, because Marian Pahars, I used to love watching him play. It was him, and there was another striker. Was it James Beattie they had up front? I think it was Beattie and Pahars, maybe early on in James Beattie's career. We've got Doug here, the Dugout Football Channel, saying, hello, Reds, and Zane, nice to see you here. Doug was great value last week. It was really cool to see. I'm sure, was that the first time we'd seen him, Pete, on the show?
Yeah, it was. This was the first time on the down under part of it all. And yeah, but last week we had actually some interesting topics through his questions.
Amazing. We've also got another MVP, former man of the match, Chris Welch. Morning, lads, and Zane. So
here he is. Chris,
I mean, so hold on, Zane. You also do YouTube stuff, right? So you are on the YouTube.
Yes. So
are any of these? Sorry, go on.
No, go on. You go on.
I was going to say, are any of these names familiar? Do you know? I mean, have you heard of? Has Doug ever kind of commented?
Yeah.
It sounded like maybe you had recognized him.
Yeah. Doug is my friend and Chris as well. They're definitely the MVPs of YouTube. They always tune in, always ask questions. So
cool.
In here as well.
Oh, amazing! That's really cool. We've got like it's kind of like when you watch like a TV show and like they have the crossovers, like when like the Flintstones visited the Jetsons or something, or maybe something from this century. I don't know. I would choose something.
Batman meets Scooby Doo. It's one of those ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where's Joey?
Or maybe...
Where's Joey? Where's our main man?
Joey?
Where'd he go?
Oh, Joey. Oh, of course, Joey. I thought you meant Joey. I thought we were going to have like a Friends crossover. Joey Tribbiani was going to show up. How you doing?
How you doing?
Well, what we wanted to do on this one, on this show, obviously the match debate is about, debating about a match, but there isn't a match for us to talk about. So we're just going to talk about the first 3 fixtures in and amongst all the comments that you guys send our way. So please, guys, in the comments, let us know what you want us to talk about. There are a few things that we had on our mind. So we were going to start with something pretty simple, which is something like this, grading Liverpool's first 3 fixtures. I want to start with you, Pete, because you and I, it's weird because Liverpool we're 7 points from a possible 9 after playing Chelsea, the European champions, at home. I mean, before Chelsea, would you have taken 7 points? But now after Chelsea, are you still taking 7 points?
I did predict the draw before the game started. So I can't go against my original prediction by saying, yep, I completely accept the 7 out of 9, no problem. Then there's the however part. However, playing, 45 minutes at home against 10 men down is a little bit disappointing. That the fact that we were good for 12 minutes of the second half and then kind of just deflated. We ran out of air, ran out of gas, whatever you want to call it. But look, overall, would I take 7 out of 9? Yeah, of course.
Zane, I wanted to ask you, because obviously before the game, were you thinking differently before the Chelsea game as opposed to after it? I mean, let's just say it's now before Chelsea. Would you have taken 7 points from a possible 9 for Liverpool's start to the season?
Well, I would have taken them, but I still would want to go for the 9. And even after the game, I was disappointed that we did not get the 9 points because we should have. And yeah, I'm fine with 7 points. It's a good result. Like, I think only Spurs are on 9 points, but knowing what happened at that game and knowing how we almost didn't create any chances and just, yeah, I'm a bit disappointed with the 7 points, but at the same time, it's an okay result.
It's okay. Yeah. I mean, I've put there the grades A, B, C, D. I mean, it's kind of like school. I'm not sure if everyone uses the same grading system. But having said that, Nick, what would you give Liverpool's first 3 fixtures? Do you want to give it a letter or a minus, like a B plus?
I want to give it a letter.
Can you give it a letter? Let's all give it a letter. Go on.
Yeah.
Well, first, Nick. I asked Nick first, Pete. Wait your turn.
Yeah. Just wants to hear himself and see himself talking on camera. I'd probably give it maybe a B. Now, I'm not sure if it goes plus or minus. I'll probably give it a B minus only because of the fact that we probably didn't do ourselves many favours in that second half against Chelsea. That's the only reason why I'd give it the minus. Apart from that, no problems. A 3-0 opening game, a 2-0 at home to Burnley, who are normally tough to beat against, and a 1-1 against a very astute, let's be real here, defence and very tactically adept defense when you're down to 10 men from Thomas Tuchel and Chelsea. So I don't think we can really complain. I mean, if we were like 5 points out of 9, I'd be sitting there thinking like I'm looking towards maybe a C or a D in that sense there. There's no F's here, not at all, but there's no case for an A myself either. So yeah, I'll probably give like a B minus, I would say.
B minus. Now, before I come to you, Pete, on your grade, I do want to quickly just have a look at what Doug said. This is basically the reason I want to put this up is because this is where I sit. I'm just looking at improvements from last season. We come 3rd last year. I mean, it's a disappointing season, and the whole league in general kind of felt the long nature of the year, especially with COVID. I always just look upon improving from last season. I'm kind of the same with no fans. We lost to Burnley. We actually lost that Chelsea game. I just always look at it in comparison to last season, Pete. I mean, that's why I kind of give it a higher grade than usual, mate. I'd actually give it an A minus. But what would you give it, Pete?
B plus.
Good. It's the
A
same thing.
B plus because it's undefeated. And then they're undefeated. And we've got 2 out of 3 wins with a draw. Yeah, it's nice. The reason why I can't give it an A is because not so much of the draw. Forget the draw completely. I just think that the performances could have been a little bit better at the same time. So I'm more basing on the performances of the 3 games. I think for me, being undefeated is great. We've got a hard away game coming up in Leeds, a very difficult October coming up. So to be undefeated heading into all that, yeah, it's great. But I think the performances could and should be better.
We've also got Chris Watch here agreeing with you, B minus. So I gave it an A minus. Zane, what letter grade, what school grade would you give our start to the season?
I would give it a B without a plus or a minus, because I do agree that there is an improvement of last season. But if you look at the squad of last season and if you look at the squad now, it's a bit hard to compare. So that's why, even though there is improvement, I'm just not yet 100% sure that there is a huge improvement in performances. Like, we managed to win the first 2 games and draw the third one, but there are some things which still concern me. So I agree that maybe the performances weren't the best, but we still managed to get 7 points. So that's why I'm giving a B.
What would be, if you said there were some things that concerned you, what would be the number one thing that would have concerned you in those fixtures? Or maybe it's primarily from Chelsea, perhaps that failure to break them down, that deep defense?
Yeah, that would be probably the first thing, because many teams will play that low block against us, and we do seem to struggle. And currently, I don't see a player who can break it as things stand now. But maybe it's the finishing as well, because in the first 2 games, we created quite a lot of chances. I think we are first in the league in terms of creating chances, but we did not manage to be clinical and finish them. So I think those 2 things are the ones which concern me the most.
Right. Well, Doug here says we brushed Norwich aside, played very well. We should have beaten 10-man Chelsea. However, they defended really well. They're probably going to be one of the favourites for the league. The reason I'm intrigued by this, another intriguing Doug comment, is because I was saying this, Pete, by the way. I think Chelsea going down to 10 men hurt us. I'm not sure what you guys think, but it's counterintuitive. It's like playing against 10 men is easier. I actually think it gave Chelsea something to do. I'm not sure what they were trying to do against Liverpool. We'll never know, because we kind of saw it in the first half. The second half, Jurgen loves a good team talk. He loves a good halftime, Pete. But it basically gave them the mission. We're going to come out of here with 1 point. We're not letting Liverpool win. And that's kind of where we suffered, I would say.
Look, the red card definitely flipped the mentality, also the game plan. So obviously when you go 10 men and you're 1-0 up, the idea is to hold the lead. At worst case scenario, you concede, and then maybe you just don't lose after that. So once you go 10 men down, the idea is to not lose. Now, I agree with you. I think the red card changed everything. I think the red card definitely hurt us more than it did hurt Chelsea, because they did the one thing that at the moment it seems that we've struggled to do is defeat a block of 10. But I just, at the same time, it's hard to say, because they're 1-0 up with 11 men. So, but they definitely would have attacked us a bit more in the second half and had those moments for us to counterattack and hit them spaces in behind, I guess. I'm assuming so. But I do agree that the red card definitely flipped it definitely kind of impacted our game plan.
I want to come to you on this one, Nick, because there's an interesting idea here that we might start doing this a little bit more often. Maybe call it, fixtures recap or fixtures review, like we've kind of done for this show. But as Doug points out there's another spell. We can kind of look at the season in little blocks. I think that's how Jurgen Klopp kind of prepares. We always see him, I laser focus on that Christmas period. And then, then he stumbles in January, and then he kind of goes, well, let's do Christmas and then January. And then February is a little bit kind of wonky. So he kind of targets groups of games, it seems. We've seen him do this every season, Nick, where he kind of, he has the same starting 11 for those opening fixtures. And then we get to an international break. I would say a lot of people are really upset by this international break, Nick, but I actually like it because I think it means Jurgen Klopp puts that starting 11 into the bin and starts on his new one. And maybe we start to see Thiago a little bit more. As Doug points out here, we've got a challenging little spell ahead of us.
Well, we've got the squad now fully fit. Let's just say, I think one or two people maybe here and there. I think Minamino was, I think there was word that he's injured. Hopefully, he gets to play some point this season, not just gets loaned out again. Firmino's got a hamstring injury as well, so that's two players I can think of off the top of my head that probably we won't be able to use. And then we do have the African Cup of Nations as well in January. So that, as we said, January is not always the kindest to us, but for the next maybe month and a half, at least to the end of February, like. Leeds away is not going to be easy. We went there last year, but last year there was no fans. We got fans now at Ellen Road, and that's not going to be easy for us because we know what Leeds fans are like, and it's going to be mental in a good way. I'm actually looking forward to this game here. But then after that, we've got our reunion with the old guard in AC Milan, but we're playing at Anfield. But then we've got Palace at home. And then we've got the EFL Cup again playing against Norwich. And then we're away to Brentford. We've got Porto in the Champions League. And then the big game against Manchester City, which you definitely do not want to drop points against. So if these last three games were the, A1 starting 11, and we're going on to the A2 starting 11 next, then what are we going to see? Do we see Elliott drop back into the subs and then you see Thiago start maybe? Or do you might see Henderson, Fabinho, and I don't know, Chamberlain, for example, even though we've seen Chamberlain so far this season.
Pete is shaking his head
I
violently.
said it because
Oxlade Chamberlain.
I knew it would get him jogging. I said that. But the Leeds game next is important. You cannot afford to drop points away from home, especially to a team like Leeds, who probably won't be challenging you. But all the same, still for your own momentum, you need to be on top of your game. And you know what? If we are looking at the next month at least for a patch, we can get through. But Klopp says, we never look at the future games or anything like that. I think that's nonsense. You always look at a couple of key games, and you want to win your first Champions League game, especially at home in the group stages, and you want to be winning against your title rivals or top four contenders in Man City. So those two games you're probably going to be looking for.
Now, Zane, I just want to put this one to you. Doug has mentioned here that Leeds have had a tough start. Now, I actually remember this a few seasons ago, maybe. I think it was actually the season that we don't win the Champions League. So that's 3 years ago now. Is that correct? I think it's
28.
Everyone was afraid of Roma. Everyone was just afraid of Roma. And I was just like, we're really good. We're just going to beat them 5-0. I don't think we beat them quite 5-0, but we steamrolled them. I mean, I'm not sure how much of Leeds you've watched this season. I actually haven't watched too much of them. Is it beyond is it wishful thinking to suggest that we couldn't just completely demolish Leeds because they've only had 2 points from 9?
Probably can.
Well, I think it is the wishful thinking. I think we can do it, but if you look at the games we had with them last season, the first game was at home, and it was, I think, the first game of the season, and Leeds had just been promoted, so it was like a different motivation for them. The second game, it was a draw, but as Doug said before, we were actually the first team out of those 6 teams who were part of European Super League to play. So it was kind of in our heads, and I think it did interfere with the game. So you can't really take them into account. But it's always a very interesting game with Leeds, and it's hard to say which way it's going to go. I know they haven't started the season very well. I think they played United and they get quite smashed as well with a big score. So it will be interesting to see. And of course, the injuries of Taki and Firmino, it will be interesting to see who will actually play, who will be on the bench. So let's just hope that no one else picks injuries in the last games which are remaining. I think England plays and Holland, I think, plays as well. So we have to be careful with that. But it will be interesting to see.
Crossing every finger and toe, and everyone here should be crossing everything as well. But it's actually really interesting that you bring up that idea of Minamino and Firmino being out. And now I want to go back to, I think Nick brought up Oxlade Chamberlain. I do want to address this from Aaron Meadows. G'day, Aaron. Nice to hear from you. How do we cover those that go to the African Cup of Nations now? That may sound like a little bit different to what I'm suggesting that we talk about, but it's this idea of covering for the front three. when Mane and Salah do head off to the African Cup of Nations, we have to find a way to get play. I think we're just going to have to use midfielders in attack. We're going to have to use Elliott in attack. I mean, he's traditionally a winger. We may have to use Oxlade-Chamberlain in that front three. In the context of losing Firmino, in the context of covering plays in the front three and giving them a break, Pete, I mean, how do you see that we deal with that issue? Do we change formation or do we just shove other players into the current shape?
Easy. James Milner.
Milner.
That's it. James Milner. Just a lone striker on his own, and the rest just play off him.
So you got a 4-5-1, or maybe just play a 10-1. Play everyone back and play him up front.
I'd love to see a play with the formation during these times, just to see if it ever just benefits us. Even like the old-fashioned 4-2-2 kind of thing, like a molded 4-4-2, where we play with two up top, and it could be like a Firmino Jota, which would be interesting to see how that works. Or, but I'd love to see a front three eventually of Minamino, Firmino, and Jota during that time. I think that would be exciting to watch in terms of movement and intelligence off the ball. I think they all have that super intelligence to kind of create pockets and to cause damage to defenders. The issue with that would be the midfielders to complement them. We kind of need midfielders that can run in behind and help in that third man run. But it's just that when it's meant to be Naby Keita's meant to be one of those people, but obviously he's going to the AFCON, isn't he? So
he can get out of Guinea. So.
Say that again.
Like he's trapped in Guinea, like in his country, because like there's.
I read that this morning actually.
Yeah.
So what happened? Can you explain what happened? He got axed, did he?
Well, the Guinean army, they had like a shooting near the president palace because they want to remove the president like from the power, and they actually succeeded, and they took the president hostage, if I'm correct. So now there is no president, like there's no government, nothing. So, and no one can get out of the country. So he's literally trapped in the country, and they are trying to evacuate him, but I don't know, like, how's that gonna pan out?
So he misses leads. That's what we've said.
Leads, yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's rough.
My goodness. Well, yeah, there we go. Doug's confirming that political unrest, but also Zane telling us there that they're trapped in the country. Something about the president. My goodness, that's crazy. Yeah. But you know what's interesting. I want to bring up this because we were talking about the front three there and who we can kind of bring in. But you know what? There's always silver lining to everything. If we didn't get rid of Gini Wijnaldum and didn't replace him, if that never happened, we never would have seen Harvey Elliott kind of rise to the occasion. There's always a silver lining with this sort of stuff. I want to throw this one at you, Nick. Curtis Jones, it could be, I mean, he is a left center mid. That's where, I mean, I don't want to put, you don't have to play on the left or the right if you're, in a Liverpool midfield. It's very flexible, but he likes playing on the left, being that Coutinho style player, drop of the shoulder, a little bit of a step over, and then hopefully hitting the top bin. Would you want to see Curtis Jones coming in?
We haven't seen him play just yet. I want to see if he's match fit. We know he had his concussion issues, I think, a few weeks ago, whether that's carried anything forward, if Klopp is just using smoke and mirrors to keep him undercover, because last season he was good when he came on. When he started a few games, he looked pretty good, scored himself a couple of goals playing in some cup competitions a season or two ago, and I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be at least on the bench. But if you've got if you've got Elliott starting instead of it's a combination of Arnold and Elliott. If you've got Elliott starting instead of Jones, I'm thinking, okay, what has Elliott done to deserve a start over Curtis Jones, who has been more prominent in this squad? Now, again, if Klopp is doing something at the moment to try and maybe jog some fight or some bite out of Jones, that could be one thing. I just find it odd that he hasn't even had him on the bench, provided he's fit, though. Unless anyone's got any more information on there. I would like to see him play because it was great last season, and there's no reason why he shouldn't be in that squad. He and Elliott have, I think they've played together. Pete, remind me if they have or they haven't. Jones,
Harvey and no, I don't think they have. No.
Right,
I think they might have like some sort of explanation. In the U21 championship, he was in a fight with another Croatian player, so he hit him or something like that, and he got like
That's right.
disciplinary. So it might be that Klopp is a bit like trying to prove his point and say that it's not okay. It's my guess, but it's possible knowing
Yeah, I
Klopp
remember that.
because he is young, so that might give him a lesson. I'm not sure that it is the case, but it could be.
We often talk about rewarding players and sticking by players who've done, hard work and all that kind of stuff there. You go through last season, and I hate talking about last season because it's a season to forget and hope to God that we never see again. Just because what we went through, as a club, we don't know, that many injuries, that many things that can go wrong, and the 6 losses in a row at home, all that kind of stuff. You hope to God you never see it again. But when Curtis was playing for us during the, last season, along with the only one that was Wijnaldum, who was staying fit and playing them good minutes, he was one of the better performers in the 11. And there was a long period of games where he was the only midfielder that was actually trying to take the game by the scruff of the neck and trying to score, taking his shots, going 1v1s, getting active, putting the tackles in, and doing all that hard yakka, the graft stuff that that people love so much out of midfielders. Now the season starts again, and it's almost like, thanks for that. We appreciate that. You can stay over there. That's what it just feels like at the moment. And I wish to God that we see Curtis Jones play a bit more this year because I think he's exceptional.
I do want to so obviously we're talking about Curtis Jones here in the context of it's the coup in Guinea. Obviously here, Remy, thanks for coming on and keeping us informed of the situation. The coup in Guinea was successful. There's no reason why Keita can't come out of the country.
The borders are shut though, so I don't know.
Say that again, sorry?
Borders are shut, at least for now. So
it sounds like Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw someone put, like show me the biggest prison in the world right now, and there's a map of Australia.
Yeah.
We've gone back to the 1700s, back to a prison.
We've made it.
I like this from Jack Murray. I'm very disappointed with Naby. He's got himself stuck in his own country and let the team down. I don't know. I hope that's sarcastic because I think a lot of people are also, I think it's fun to make fun of, the excessive Naby hate. I think it's justified, that people get a little bit annoyed with the amount of injuries and the inconsistency from Naby Keita. But it's always fun to poke fun at that situation. So I'm sure that's what Jack mentions there. We've got Aaron again, by the way. He's in Australia. G'day, mate. Red Sea Down Under. Maybe we should have you on the show one day, Aaron. If you're interested one day in coming on, maybe we can have a chat to you. We're always welcoming Aussies onto the show. And this is the Red Sea Down Under, after all, as you can see from that green teal harbour bridge up in the top right-hand corner there. Doesn't that look glorious, Pete? Is that the actual colour of the harbour bridge, by the way? It is teal, isn't it?
Correct.
And another update about Naby Keita from Carl Markham on Twitter. We're in constant contact with Naby Deco, who is safe and well after military coup. Obvious situation is fluid. We'll maintain regular dialogue with the relevant authorities. So hopefully we get him back. But if not, what we were talking about was this idea of trusting Curtis Jones again. So do we want to, maybe throw him into the team? Zane was just mentioning, by the way, I'm not sure if you guys agree with this. I actually want to throw this question out there. I mean, I personally think it's a really not a great move with regards to was Klopp disciplining Curtis Jones. It seems like a strange thing because I feel like Trent or someone, like another one of the English lads, has done something like, not exactly like this, but they've shown a bit of graft. And, for example, like Joe Gomez had that spat with Raheem Sterling. Does he get punished? I'm not sure if he does for what he... Sorry?
It wasn't his fault, though. It was all Sterling who was the one.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I remember the moment, but I actually don't remember why it all happened. I think, wasn't Curtis Jones defending a teammate due to racism or something like that? Wasn't he? Yeah, wasn't he acting out in terms of defending a teammate for getting racial abuse?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
I think that's right. Maybe one of the listeners, in the comments can kind of help us out here, but I'm pretty sure that's why Curtis Jones acted aggressively in terms of to get all fired up and stuff.
Yeah, I would have thought the first person to say, good on you, Curtis, I'm going to reward you with a start would be Jurgen Klopp. Klopp's kind of this, he's the man for the many. He He likes to, yeah. I mean, me and you saw him, Pete, in Liverpool. I mean, he'll sit there and chat to every. He was the last person, by the way. We're outside the hotel where they were staying, and he went and he said hello to every single fan. The last person into the hotel was Jurgen Klopp. Wasn't that right?
Yeah, I remember that. And then he asked us for ideas and tactics for that game, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And we told him just, play Shaq just behind the strikers and he'll score a couple of goals. And he goes, very good. That's the situation. Very good. And he started him and he scored 2 goals. Did he not score? Did Shaqiri score 2 goals in that game, Pete?
So I said to him, if you play Shaqiri here, he'll score 2 goals. And he goes, oh, okay. And then, that's okay. And he did.
I would play him in this position. And there we go.
Jones incident, I was just reading, I think, they are saying that Croatia, like they went to the next stage and England was eliminated and Croatia were really celebrating a lot. So they said that's why they started the fight. I don't think it was racism related, but you never know what happens on the pitch. But he is young and emotions sometimes get the best of you. So
so it could be disciplinary from Klopp, but we do know one thing. We haven't seen him since then. So hopefully, the idea of Naby Keita perhaps not being available, giving Harvey Elliott a bit of a rest. Maybe it's time for Curtis Jones to kind of step up. Chris here says one of our favorites. He was looking forward to Naby Keita playing. You know what? It's maybe a welcomed break. I mean, Naby's now played a couple of games in quick succession. He's gone on international duty. Maybe he needs this break. Maybe he needs a little bit of a rest. And then Jones will play versus Norwich in the cup game. That would be really cool to watch. Maybe get his goal tally up. But just as we move away, perhaps from the conversation about players in midfield, I did want to bring this up, and I think this is going to get everybody very excited. Before I do that, I just want to see here what Remy has said. There's only been 3 matches. It's not enough to have Curtis Jones start. Harvey Elliott has been a revelation and tactically essential. I think it's a really interesting point. Very quickly, guys, would you guys, I'll start with you, Zane. Would you continue with the Harvey Elliott experiment in midfield?
I'm not sure because I have said before that I think that if he plays and Henderson plays as well, Henderson is playing kind of out of the position. So there's a bit of a disbalance in the midfield. But then at the same time, what I've seen of Harvey Elliott has been brilliant. Like his performances were like top notch. But then at the same time, I think for the sake of the team, I would try him in the front 3 as well. Not only because he's been playing there before, but also we might be a bit short in attackers. So I would try him in the front position as well.
Yeah, me and you, Pete, we had this, we were kind of a little bit critical of the front 3 for not moving towards each other as much. One thing we have seen of Elliott is that he has drifted around and we kind of see him almost as the one in a 4-2 or the one behind the 4-2-3-1, like the cam, so to speak.
Yeah.
Nick, do you reckon we'd see, do you reckon it could be an idea, especially with Bobby out, maybe to throw Elliott into the front 3, get him used to playing in the front 3?
He's very plucky. He's very good on the ball. We've seen him. He doesn't mind going one-on-one with the player. Doesn't mind hugging a touchline. Doesn't mind going toe-to-toe because he's got that low center of gravity. Let's be reminded here. We know what players with low center of gravity can do. We've seen with Mo Salah. We've seen it with Shaqiri at times as well when he was at the club. So it's not to say that it's not possible. I just don't know how often you might be able to get it. But definitely, he's very creative. And if we are going to look at getting a player to maybe receive a ball at midfield and take a few strides forward, see an opening and have a shot. As you've said yourself, George, Elliott's shaping up to be that Coutinho type of player to get the ball, go past the player and then just have a shot on target. And if he keeps up his shooting with his left foot, and his left footer, of course, you never know. He might hit one in the top bins, and he smacked the top corner in that friendly, I think a pre-season, which would have been a nice little goal for him in front of the cop there. So he's got potential in there. It's just a matter of who backs him up in the midfield. Of course, as Zane rightly said, Henderson on that right side plays well because he links up with Trent when he goes forward. But then again, we've seen Trent in the midfield for England just the other day, which piqued our interest. So we're thinking, okay, maybe Southgate's onto something here. Maybe Klopp will look at moving him into the midfield, but then there's a question of who do you play at right back? And maybe that's just a conversation that's a bit premature for the moment here. But in Elliott's case, 100%, there's no reason why you can't play him in there, provided you're going to have the support behind him and the players up front. He's good on the ball as well. He can throw the pass through, as we've seen already this season.
Yeah, and talking about experimentation with the players, we do have Norwich coming up, and it actually gives us a chance to kind of flex our muscles a bit, maybe more so than what we ever have done, despite the fact we have gotten rid of a lot of the excess fat, trim the fat from the team, because the players that like the Harry Wilsons and the Marco Gruiches that, I mean, they've always been on loan, but there's never been a believable path for them to get into the starting 11 or into at least a starting 15 for Liverpool. But now when you've got the likes of Cade Gordon coming through the academy, Harvey Elliott, obviously as an 18-year-old, you just tell them run, 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 and they will keep running. I mean, the recovery is a lot easier for them. They may get little niggles here and there, but they've got plenty of time to recover. So you can ask the 18-year-olds to keep going. I mean, this is just a general question to all of you guys. Is there anyone that you're excited to see play against Norwich? Maybe I'll start with you, Zane. Is there anybody that maybe you think it's time for them to get a game against Norwich?
Yeah, well, I would first start with our signing Konate. Like, I want to see how he plays. Like, I saw some preseason games, but I think it's time he starts to play a game here and there, just in case we need to rest Matip or Van Dijk. He is there, so he would be probably the first one. Then, well, Gomez as well, potentially, because he hasn't played since his injury as well. Maybe, well, I would be interested to see Taki, but I don't know if he's going to be fit to start that game. Potentially Origi as well, to see just what he's up to, because you never know with Origi. Sometimes he can be brilliant, sometimes he's just really bad. So I think, yeah, that would be my players.
I like that as well. I like the idea of, Origi just being this complete unknown. I mean, for Pete, for you, Pete, he's not an unknown quantity. He's a known quantity. You know exactly what he's going to do, and I'm assuming it's somewhere along the lines of nothing for you. That's probably what is that right? Or
I'll say it
corners?
again.
Hold on.
He's the only player in history of football I've ever seen come on with 10 minutes to go and look like he's already played 90 minutes. I'll just leave it at that.
Wasn't that funny when we were watching? Was it Van Dijk and Gomez? Oh no, was it Fabinho and Bobby? Oh no,
Firmino,
Alisson and Firmino. Is that right, Zane? Was it those two?
Yeah, and he was like, lazy.
Yeah, he goes, always lazy, and he goes, Origi.
Yeah, that's right.
Isn't that crazy? Like you've said it there, Pete, and then it's kind of like the other players are thinking that's, man, if you're not starting, you got to put in the effort, surely. That's crazy. That was crazy insight, and they kept that in the video.
Yeah, good on him.
Origi's
We all know it anyway.
I've won you a derby. I've got you to a Champions League final. I've solidified a Champions League final. What else do you want from me? It's like, you need more than that. You can't just win us corners,
I am Lord Divock. Don't annoy me. I'm sleeping.
Bro, you better start me because I'm better than all these players.
Yeah, sure.
We're just talking there about the possibility of players starting versus Norwich. Zane was mentioning, obviously we want to see Konate, we want to see Gomez. Maybe if Minamino is fit, we could possibly see a little bit of him. But obviously, I mean, there's also this idea of Phillips. I mean, it would be good to reward him after his new contract, but then again, we were trying to sell him, so it's not like we have to play him. But I like a lot of these other shouts here. Curtis Jones. I do like playing Origi there because we have to deal with what we've got, and we've got Origi, so we have to just get him minutes and get him used to scoring weird shoulders at the end of the derby. Got to get him used to that sort of stuff again. Pete, is there anybody you're excited to see against Norwich if we are going to rotate the squad a little bit more?
I hope to God, I'd love to see again Konate number one and Gomez at the two. Two of them side by side would be great to watch. Curtis Jones, I'd love to see Curtis Jones play and do what he does best. Play without fear and just be that one who wants to attack and score goals. The idea of Cade Gordon excites me. I agree with that 100%. I'd love to see. I'd rather Cade Gordon start than Divock Origi, because for us, Origi's not going to offer us anything new anymore. I think his time has completely expired. So Cade Gordon is 16 years old. Potentially, we don't know what he can be, and I think that excites me a lot more than watching some lazy sloth jog about up top. And then there's the idea of Ox as a 9. I would be actually interested to watch. To be honest with you, I'd like to see him there. Potentially have a look at that. And Thiago, I want to see Thiago play. I just want to see. He's one of the best midfielders in modern generation in terms of just what he does with the ball. We're yet to see him. So I'd love to see Thiago play.
For those, I'm not sure how many of you guys here in this stream have watched the under 23s play. Who they just played somebody. I mean, they got smashed recently by somebody. I'm not sure if it was a men's team. I'm hoping it was a men's team because they got a walloping. But I'm pretty sure there's a 1-1 somewhere, or maybe a 3-1 or a 1-1. But Cade Gordon plays, and it was one of the things that I was worried about, Pete. It was this idea that maybe he doesn't have the pace that a young Raheem Sterling had. I just compare every one of our youngsters to Raheem Sterling. I was just mesmerized by the then 15-year-old when I was watching him play for the under 23s and the under 18s. I mean, I say it all the time. He scored 10 goals against one team. He scored 50 in the whole year. He was just lightning. But Cade Gordon showed a lot of great pace. I was really scared, and that may have just been because it was preseason. And when you're in preseason, Pete, you may be able to enlighten us on this. You feel like you got lead weights in your legs because you're training constantly, day in, day out, week in, week out. But I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, being a 16-year-old and you look over your shoulder and you see Van Dijk, you look over your other shoulder, you see Salah. Yeah, you got these butterflies that turn into eagles. They're no longer butterflies anymore, and then it may impact you mentally a little bit. But then I'm sure, because in one of the games, I think it was when he played at Anfield. One of the games there was Bilbao. Did he play against Bilbao, or was it the other one? He did look electric. He looked electric, and that's what I thought. So what we saw in the preseason at the training camps, when he's a bit, as you would say, like as not as quick. Then you watch him in that game at home after a full preseason camp with the boys and with everybody, and he's a bit more comfortable. And he did look electric, and he should have scored his goal, but I think it was disallowed for offside. But yeah, I'd love to see Cade Gordon play.
Yeah, and we've got Chris here saying Origi will just end up writing his own J.K. Rowling book as he does nothing, just like last season. Writing his own J.K. Rowling book. I'd be interested in that. I feel like there's been a lot of jokes about what Origi does with his spare time. He's probably actually, you know what? Not only jokes, he was doing some really cool stuff last season, was he not? For the city of Liverpool. So he actually does get up to some really cool stuff. Was that right?
Doing his best not to get sold. Yeah.
Yeah, he was paying for some, he had some student, how was it called? For the Liverpool University,
yes,
paying for the studies of some students, so that was good, like grants or something.
I've never seen such a great gesture be met with so much there was no negativity around it, but there was just we got our transfer news there and then, because if he sets up this thing in his name at the University of Liverpool, it's like saying to us, I'm here for a while, guys. I'm going to...
It's a goodbye gesture from him, to be fair. Because he didn't ask it before the season, so I thought he's going to go do a good thing and then just leave, but it wasn't the case.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Maybe it wasn't.
He only did that so he can stay. That's the inside information. That's what we've been told. I'm not going to say by who, but we've been told he only did that so he could stay.
Don't underrate Origi, as he has the X factor, the know-how, how to score good goals. I think he might surprise everyone one day.
We saw that against Burnley last year.
Yeah, I wanted to say.
Oh, the post.
Yeah.
Don't remind me.
Yeah, it was a disappointing one, that one, because that was kind of the game where it all fell apart for us. If he doesn't hit the post there, that looked like a surefire goal, right?
Well, but you can't just keep hoping that someone is going to show up and give him, it's been already 2 years. This will be a third year when he is not really good enough. And just this loyalty to some players, I think sometimes it hurts us too much. And in terms of Origi, definitely, because I'm sorry, he is a cult hero, but he's not good enough anymore.
Did you hear that, Pete? Cult hero, not legend. Zane, if you don't know, there's a lot of debate on Origi being a legend of the club, and most of us are of the opinion that he's not really a legend, but a cult hero. I could say yes, or someone who we can remember in reverence. Say, oh, remember Origi? Yeah, he was all right, eh? Like Neil Mellor, scores a wonder goal against Arsenal, and then scores in the game against Olympiacos, and everyone remembers Neil Mellor for those couple of moments. That's what Origi will be remembered for.
I think so. Yeah, I agree.
And I think you just made a huge fan in Pete because you've said he's a cult hero, not a legend. And Pete he's a massive fan of those sorts of statements, aren't you, Pete?
I don't even know what to say.
I just very quickly here just want to say g'day to Ant. We haven't heard from Ant. I don't think I've seen any of his comments here, but Keita being a prisoner of war is absolutely wild. Yeah, as we are previewing the
Crazy,
Leeds
man.
game, I mean, we
Crazy.
may not see Naby Keita for this week because he's being kept in his, in his home country there. So yeah, that's kind of disappointing. The ideas of cult heroes, I think David and Gog. I tell you what, there's no player I've hated more than David and Gog. Now, Zane, you've only just, I mean, maybe in the last 5 or so years, started, getting really passionate with Liverpool. Have you had a chance to look at David and Gog
No, I
at
haven't,
all?
but I will now.
Don't.
Don't. He's
The most unco footballer you ever see in your life, but he somehow scored like some vital goals for us. Somehow, I don't know how.
well,
Warwick is like Ngok too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. Anyway, he scored an interesting goal against Manchester United, and we'll just leave it at that. But I think it's really cool. It's a really good segue to go from cult heroes to legends. I'm not sure if you guys would class this man as a legend of the club. I'm thinking we probably should. He's one of our most successful players. I mean, one of the most successful in the current era. But we're dragging the show in the gutter a little bit here because we heard some news about Mohamed Salah perhaps demanding 500k. Now, I'm sure this will get the comments firing. I'm not sure if we believe this story. Does anybody have any clarity or any clarification? This feels like Daily Mirror garbage.
Yeah.
Zane,
I don't believe it.
Yeah,
No?
it's fake. It's totally fake. And usually when it comes to transfer news and stuff like that, you can't trust Liverpool Echo. But when it comes to contract extensions, they are spot on because the club is informing them. And they actually said it's nowhere near 500,000. It's more like 325 or something. So this is just to fuel the Liverpool bad agenda, because whenever you go on Twitter or whatever social media and you write a tweet about Liverpool player has done this and this in a bad way, or Liverpool are this and this, they will always get likes, they will always get engagement. And to be fair, even if he was demanding 500k, which he isn't, he deserves it. When you look at players like Neymar or Kane or even the Sancho, what he's getting at United, Salah is better. Salah deserves it, but he is not requiring it. So it just makes me a bit angry that people put these agendas up. And actually, I think Salah is one of the most loyal players to the club. So these kind of news I just find very disrespectful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that pretty much hits the nail on the head. It's perfectly timed. It always happens in the, what was it, last international break that he wanted to go to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
That was being flirted around, and then it's every international break we've got to hear something with Salah. Go on, Nick.
You got to remember, after the Norwich game, didn't his manager or his agent, came out and said, I hope you're watching or something, because that's when they had talk of other players getting their contracts renewed, and Salah's was like the last one. Now, I don't remember if Pete said it was you or maybe it was Steve. I can't remember, but someone came up with the theory or the thought that maybe they're waiting for Salah to be last, because if they do Salah first and was like, okay, I want 200, and Van Dijk's going to say, well, I want 250, and it's like, well, hang on, now I've got a raw deal sort of a thing. Or it could be the fact that they want to see how many players they can solidify and keep there for the next 3 or 4 seasons, in which case Salah would then probably say, you know what, we've won things with this team. We're gonna have more players come in. Hopefully, if we sign players during transfer windows, because that's what you're apparently meant to do somehow. And I want to be here for a while. So maybe it could have been a way to just say, hey, look, all these players are staying here. Do you really want to leave and go somewhere else? Like like when they said, I'm not comparing him at all, but a thought came to mind when someone said to I forget who it was. I think it was to Fernando Torres that if you stay here, they'll build you a statue. If you leave, you'll just be another player.
Coutinho,
Something like that. Coutinho, sorry, that's the one. Thank you,
Yeah.
Coutinho. That's the one. Some player that left us, one of the many. So yeah, it could very much be a similar case there. He is loved. He's 100%. He's going to be a club legend one day, no doubt. The amount of goals he scored, the amount of contributions he's given to us. So, but 500 grand, no chance. Like if Van Dijk's earning like 220 a week or whatever it is, there's no way he'd be getting more than he'd be at least on par.
So
yeah, absolutely. Go on.
First and foremost, he's not going to be just a Liverpool legend. He'll be a Premier League legend because by end of this season, he'll be the highest scoring African in the history of the Premier League.
He's got
So
1 or 2 goals to go, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's just like, facts. So legend in both the club and league. But I don't, as much as I think, he deserves to be the highest paid player at the club, I do believe that. I don't want us to give a 500k contract, regardless if it's true or not. I'm pretending now it's there and we can give that. Because once we give that to one player, whoever we sign next, the next star or the next Haaland that's coming next year apparently, and whoever else is coming, they're going to start at that. Do you know what I mean? Like the next big player that comes in is going to start at the 500k mark. And then with our owners, clearly we've seen that, they don't want to spend too much or they're very careful how they spend their money. I don't think that's going to send, I don't think that will be helpful for us going forward in terms of future signings, because that will be the whole, well, Salah got 500k. So my first contract, I'm happy to sign 200k. If I have a good season, I want 500k. So that's my only thing against that. Regardless of how much I think he deserves to be the highest paid player at the club, I just hope we don't go that high up. Let's just say, for example.
To be fair, when you think about all the bonuses and incentives they are getting, I think it's close to that anyways. Like if he would be earning 300k per week and knowing how much he can score. And I think I saw like a contract clause from Liverpool on Twitter. I don't know how true it is, but like if you score 16 or more goals in a season, you get 85,000 for each goal. So you get more than the salary anyway. So I think
no wonder Salah's hogging the ball towards the end of the season.
That's why he's on penalties now. That's why he's got penalties as well.
But you also got to remember as well, you got to factor in we are a massive club, one of the biggest and best in the world. Let's make no mistake about it. But when you see what the other teams are paying their players, like De Bruyne is on like 400 grand a week. Grealish is on 300 grand a week. In what? Oh, I was about to drop an F-bomb there. In what planet is someone like Jack Grealish worth 300 grand a week? Like that is like top 5 best players in the world money. Like you can see why players go to Manchester City. They're not going there because you're guaranteed to win something, but it's the easiest thing there. Like he went to City, he was earning big bucks and they won a couple of trophies, and then where is he after that? You know what I mean? Like some players are worth their money, but someone like Grealish, for me, I don't know. Even Raheem Sterling is reportedly on 300 grand a week, and he's still in his
Sancho's
mid-20s.
on 350, isn't he?
Sancho's on 350.
These players are in their mid-20s, man, and they're making more than what some people will make in the space of 5 years in like 1 year, or 10 years in 1 year. Like it's ridiculous the amount of money these guys are making. So if Ronaldo apparently now is on 500 grand a week.
Well, Nick,
at
could I
36 years old.
Yeah, could I just give this to you? Because it was on Twitter, there was actually a list of the top earners, and all 10 of them, the top earners, were at either Manchester City, Chelsea, or Manchester United. I'm not sure if you can get access to that, Nick. But before we do address that, I just want to say g'day to one of our, it's somebody who's new to watching the pod, Ant Dicko, new to watching this pod, watching from a sunny Liverpool. That's really, Liverpool's sunny. What is it there now? What are we getting in?
Heat wave right now.
Are you in
Please
Liverpool?
tell me, what's the temperature?
I'm not in Liverpool now. I'm quite far away, but it's hot like all over the country this week.
Can you just define hot, please?
What's that in Celsius?
Well, hot for England would probably be 27 to 30 degrees.
Oh wow, it's that right now here in Queensland. And it's
have
just
that now.
Well, for British people, it might be like 20 degrees because they are in their shorts and t-shirts when it's like 11 degrees outside. But for me, it would be like 27 to 30. I love hot weather. Love it.
Well, we just wanted to say g'day to Ant Dicko. And by the way, if you are new to the pod, you have to make sure to like this video. It pushes us up the algorithm, which is great. And also subscribe so you can come on the show and, comment on a lot more of our shows. We have, we've got the training ground, which takes a deep analytical tactical analysis and look at either games that we've just played or games that are coming up. And we obviously do the match debate every single week on a Monday. And yeah, we've just got plenty of other content here on the Red Sea podcast, the lads in the UK. So please make sure to like this video and subscribe if you are new. We want to hear from you. But we were discussing the idea of Mohamed Salah and whether, if this 500K is real or not. Is he worth 500K? There's actually a very interesting comment. And this is going to be my next question to all of you guys. And if I'm not sure if Nick has that access maybe to that. I'm not sure if you managed to get that. Did you?
I've got a rough weekly salary ranking comparison, the top 30, 40 odd players, basically everyone in the Premier League from most to least.
Well, from what I saw from the top 10, this is just like a from what I remember, it was Ronaldo's at the top with 500,000. No one's earning more than Cristiano Ronaldo right now. Jadon Sancho was 350,000.
Correct.
So that gives you an idea of where they threw him. David De Gea was 350,000.
Thereabouts, yeah.
Have you got
De
those
Bruyne's,
up there?
yeah.
Is that kind of right?
According to sporttrack.com, Ronaldo's on 510 a week, and this is in £100,000, mind you. De Bruyne's on 400. De Gea's on
Pounds.
375. Yep, pounds. Even Varane, £340,000. Lukaku, 325,000. Grealish, 300, as we mentioned. You're looking at Paul Pogba, 290, and Van Dijk's on 220. He comes in at equal 16th at the moment, and he's our highest earner in the team. So there's a whole 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16, 15, 16 players above him who are making more than that. So
I'm not actually 100% sure that these things are accurate, because I have heard from someone quite close to the club that Salah is close to 300 now anyways. I don't know how true it is. I don't know how true those lists are, but there are various numbers just flying around.
would that be total week to week, or would that be bonuses included?
I think it's week to week only before the bonuses. I'm not sure how true it is. I'm just saying what I've heard.
That's interesting.
But to go to that question, George, how much would we be? I would just say 50K more than the highest earner. That's I didn't care about comparing to Ronaldo, Messi. Again, I want this to be about Liverpool and Liverpool only. So Van Dijk's our highest paid at 220. Add 50K on top of that, give it to Salah. And then that way he's the highest earner at the club.
Yep. Nick and Zane, what would you be giving Mohamed Salah?
Well, it depends on what he is now, but in the range of 350 to 400.
Wow. Nick?
That's a tough one. Do you do this and set a precedent for other players then to come in and demand more if they think they're more valuable? Pete loves his MVP player competition with past friends on who the real MVP is. But if you're going to go upwards of 250 to 300, you probably wouldn't say it's beyond the realms of possibility. I just look at it and say, okay, what's to stop someone else coming in next season saying up my contract or I'm leaving? You know what I mean? That's the only thing I would look at as a maybe negative. I mean, we know contracts these days, sometimes they don't mean much because players have terminated and left theirs mutually and all that sort of stuff. So that would be my only concern. But he's worth the money. The guy's, yeah, so much for a one-season wonder, eh? 4 or 5 seasons in, still scoring goals for fun? Seriously.
But then I think you have to take the risk as well of other people might come in and request more, but then do you take that risk and now offer him a lower salary, or then you offer him what he deserves and you know that you're going to keep him at the club? Because I saw someone in the comments saying, what if Real Madrid come next season and offer 200 million? Are you going to say no? So you need to tie him up and you need to try and get as close as his demands as possible. And I don't think he is unreasonable. So it's sort of a debate.
George, if I may just quickly jump on this. A lot of this stuff, and by the way, hello, Hector, Mr. Jojo. Good to see you.
Yes, g'day, Joey.
And why are you late, by the way? We want an explanation, please. But it's look, a lot of this stuff when it comes to contracts and incentives and add-ons, I think what people, from my experience anyway, in the football world, is that a lot of it, the player will just can turn around and say, yeah, I'm happy for an extra 50K more. Pass it on to the club. Let's just pretend, for example. And the agent will take that and be like, okay, so he wants 50K more, but but I want 250K more. So somehow I've got to try and weasel this in terms of how can I make a bigger cut out of this? Because agents, I'm not saying this is Salah's agent, but agents in general are sharks, and they'll do whatever they can to make an extra dollar. And I think a lot of the time when it comes to the contract, shenanigans that happens, I think a lot of it, you'll be surprised how much of it is not from the actual player itself, and it comes from the agency controlling the contract negotiation.
Can I just respond to one comment I saw there?
Yeah. Go on.
Joseph is saying that Salah is not worth 500K. And then when you look at the players who are close to that wage, are they worth 500K? Because, maybe it's not 500K, but it's close to it. Because he is definitely one of the best players in the world right now. There's no doubt about it. So if he's not worth it, then who is?
I think it's also, Steven Gerrard. You'd pay him that to just come back right now, wouldn't you, Pete? Just to play for us.
Just say hello to me. I'll pay him $500,000.
Take out a loan for a house for one hello.
Look, he's just watching me. Look at him. There he is.
There he is. Good old Stevie Gerrard. There he is. Yeah. Thank you. There are lots of voices come from this mad brain of mine. But I think, in the context of Liverpool, perhaps maybe he's not worth 500K because we've seen, actually, there's been a really good thread. Someone put like a 30-part thread about the ins and outs of FSG's revenues for the last 10 years. Have you seen that, Zane?
Yeah, I have,
Yeah. And then, Sorry. Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to say something. No, but it's kind of like, I think John Gibbons actually pointed out that a lot of the Anfield Rap, he said, this is funny because this guy is getting all this hate for just presenting the information that kind of explains why FSG are kind of being tight asses.
Don't shoot the messenger. Shoot the messenger.
But I think in the context of their financials, 500K might be a bit too much, but I mean, I think we can all kind of settle on 350 to 400 for Mo Salah, which is still very big. Liverpool have never done that before, and that would put him into the top 10 earners in the Premier League. So I think it's safe to say he's worth whatever money close to what he's asking for as we kind of wrap up on the Mo Salah chat and the chat about his contract. So we're going to start wrapping up the entire show right now. I just was there one more thing I think we wanted to maybe have a look at, perhaps looking forward to Leeds, maybe some very, very brief, I mean, we did talk about it beforehand, but maybe some just like brief predictions or maybe like a score prediction. I don't know. Is it too soon to be kind of making those predictions? Anybody?
Well, for Leeds.
Yeah.
No, well, let's do it. Yeah, why not? I mean, we've got our show on Thursday that we kind of go a bit more into depth and kind of go from there. But let's talk about Leeds quickly. Give a prediction.
So, I mean, I'm making this really dumb prediction from now, but maybe Pete and I are going to do the training ground. So everybody, please tune into the training ground later on this week. We may think differently after that, but before that, I'm just going to say that we're going to pump them. I'm talking a 4-0. This is kind of, I think they're going to come at us. And I think that we have a little bit more spine to us right now. We've had a great preseason, and I feel like Liverpool want to counterattack, and I think that's where we went wrong against Chelsea because they didn't give us the chance to counterattack. We commit. What was it, Pete? What do we see in the stats? We attempted 0 counterattacks and successfully completed 0 of those 0. So a grand total of 0. But Chelsea attempted 3. And shot on our goal from 3, so 100% conversion rate from their counters. Liverpool want to counter this season. I have a feeling Leeds might want to come at us, and maybe we can kind of hit them on the counter punch. So I'm predicting a 4-0. Have we got any predictions here? I'll go to you first, Pete.
Did you see the comment about Elliot, by the way?
No way. What happened here? Elliot is injured. Is that true?
Is
that true?
Don't know.
Hold on, Ant.
So that's the 3 games.
He's withdrawn from England injured. What are your sources? Does anyone have sources on this? What's going on? Breaking news.
And you're new to the show. You can't cause these problems when you're new to the show.
We're gonna do what that guy did to that FSG thread. We're gonna shoot the messenger. So we have now.
It's your fault.
We've fired shots. We've fired shots at you, Ant.
Yeah, no, the official Liverpool FC, the Twitter account, have actually said he has withdrawn from the Young Lions squad. Someone says, so how's not signing a forward going for you, lads? And of course, straight away, so what? You a fan or just a strange little kid? Like, imagine the goal of like just pointing out something that your club has done, whether it be right or wrong, and someone attacking you just for pointing out something that is factually correct. Like, amazing. But we don't know what the actual situation is just yet. So yeah, apparently he's pulled out. Don't know. This was tweeted, I don't know, like
Liverpool
minutes
tweeted
ago.
like 4 minutes ago as well.
Yeah, there you go.
It's just
So
annoying
look,
because club never learns from their mistakes. But
yeah, and it's an international break curse, right? When every time there's an international break, one of our players somehow, like Joe Gomez, ended up almost losing, his bloody legs almost at the last England camp. So like, it's always like, so we've lost Taki and we've lost Elliott potentially now in this international break. We've had Robbo already go down and Firmino. So that's 4 in 3 games. So it's a good start from us. I mean, it's.
Someone actually says this is great. It only took a week and we're 4 players down.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
Can't
good.
make this up, man.
Well,
But go back to your
that's kind of-
predictions, George, if you want. Because
Yeah,
this is
yeah. Go
negative, man.
predictions for Leeds. I mean, I did have I mean, we've run out of time here. I did want to rate our transfer window, but I guess this is kind of like a
Zed.
like a double. Yeah. I mean, very quickly. I mean, how would you rate our transfer window, Zane? Because I think it was very interesting because you're very measured, in the way that you do talk about the club. You're very similar to me, but Pete obviously a lot more opinionated than what I am. He's no stranger to just going, I think this isn't good enough and we need to do better here. I always try and look on the bright side of things, but I thought it was telling that you kind of said, yeah, that kind of sums up our transfer window.
I would rate it 2 out of 10 if we look at, like, if we're rating it out of 10. Only the 2 is for Konate because I think he is a good signing. But other than that, I can't believe they look at the squad we have. And the first 11 is totally fine. It's good. But I can't believe they looked at the bench and they were like, yeah, we're fine to challenge. Because no way. Like, it's not fine. Taki is not fine to challenge. I'm sorry. Origi isn't. I don't know about Gordon, how he's going to be. Elliott. It's a big gamble. It is a big gamble. It could work out for us if we don't get injured. But as you see now, 4 players are already injured. And like it or not, probably more players will be injured during the season. So how we didn't strengthen, at least up top, it baffles me. And it doesn't mean like I am against the club and I won't support it. I always will, no matter what. But it's just, I think it's very irresponsible. And I don't know if it's because of FSG. Is it because of Edwards leaving and potentially having some unrest with Klopp? I don't know about that. But I think it's a big gamble and I'm not sure that it will pay back.
Yeah, I think Nick. I mean, we know Pete's view, so we're going to come to him last. But yeah, giving our transfer window a rating as we begin to wrap up this show, and you guys in the comments give us your rating as well.
1.5 out of 10. Yes, we signed a centre back in terms of a replacement or an addition because we saw how light we were in centre backs last season. But we said it last week. It was last week, wasn't it? Before the transfer window shut. Who would you like to sign? I said I'd like to go for at least another striker, maybe someone else in that forward line, perhaps, to give us something going forward. Now, given Elliott's a midfielder still, is this a good reason now? Go back to what we said towards the start of the show. Does Curtis Jones come back in now to replace Elliott now? If Keita is stuck, if Firmino is out, this may be the chance to say, all right, Ox, we're going to give you the number 9. You can take the ball between midfield and the forward line and run and have shots at goal or something. Okay, Jones, you're going to be the player playing on the left or the right. You're going to be linking up with whoever else is going to be. We need you to do this and this. Like, it's going to be big games for these boys to come into it now, especially if we don't have the regulars to play against Leeds, who, yes, okay, 2 points out of 9 so far, but still, it's Leeds. We've seen what's happened with Leeds in the past with a certain Mark Viduka before. I'm not saying it's going to happen again, but weirder things have happened, and you don't want to take those chances.
And then, I just want you to respond to Remy here, Pete. I find myself saying things like Remy more often than not, so I am the voice of reason. What's that guy on AFTV who, like, regardless of if Arsenal lose 5-0, he's just like,
Mo.
they've done this, and I think it's still a good thing. It's just like, even though they've kind of lost 5-0, but it says here we shouldn't make pressurized signings.
Is one or the other.
So
yeah, right.
Look, I think the general kind of opinion of the transfer window is not fair on Konate, because people kind of forget that we signed him. And also people need to remember how badly we needed someone in that position. And the signing of Konate, how quickly and how smoothly it went, it was perfect. So you start the transfer window like that and you kind of think, beautiful. We're in this situation now. We've got that centre-back position sorted, done. Now the next one's going to come. And it never came. So it was one of those ones that I kind of disagree by saying it was a great transfer window, because it's not. Because now when you don't have, so Salah goes down tomorrow, then there's no one else. Like, it's not a great transfer window because we didn't strengthen in the area that we needed to strengthen. It was a great start to the transfer window by bringing in a top young centre-back who's going to be world-class one day, guarantee 100%. I also agree we don't need to make pressured signings. We never make pressured signings. It's just we don't do that. But it's the pressure is up front to score goals, and we've seen the lack of form at the moment with Mane. We've seen Salah, the only one who's been consistent with goals, and yes, Jota is doing his thing. But then what? Who else are you going to rely on?
Well, hopefully, Sorry, go on.
Sorry, and to be fair, we needed a centre back last season, so Konate signing was more. It was needed to be done last season already. Yeah. So this was making up for last season, not that we making up for this.
Yeah.
So I can't really reason with people who are saying that it was a great transfer window, because first of all, we only signed one player when we probably needed at least 2 or 3. So, and second of all, contract extensions are not part of transfer window, so you can't take it into that, even though they were brilliant. Like, almost all the players we needed to extend, we did. But I just can't see people giving it 7s and 8s and 9s. It's just, there's no reason behind it. I know that our starting 11 is great and it can challenge. But as we can see now, Bobby is out. If you look, like, Elliot is a starter now as well. So he is out. I don't know for how long, but he is out as well. So as Chris said before, it's a couple of injuries, and like, it will be very hard to challenge for the title, to say the least. But I'm not trying to be like very negative.
Yeah, look, I think our starting 11, if it stays fully fit, we got a great chance to win the league. 100%, because our starting 11, it has won the league before, our starting 11. You know what I mean? So you throw Thiago into that midfield, and I think our midfield is as strong as anyone's, 100%. But it's unfortunate for what we've seen since that year we've won the Premier League. Our starting 11, has been a little bit unreliable in terms of injuries. And we've seen it already with Firmino, who's been normally quite durable, who's got injured. Mm-hmm. Robertson was quite durable. Now he's had a small injury. So what happens that when 2 or 3 of these keep coming, it's more so when we have to dip into the squad is when I feel like we will kind of not taper off, but the performance and the level will drop off for sure, because it's not like we've got Raheem Sterling's off, put on Mahrez. It's not like De Bruyne off, it's now Rodri. It's not like we've got that luxury, or take off Rashford and we can put on Ronaldo. We don't have that. But our starting 11 can match anyone's. I guarantee that 100%. But minus.
I was going to say, I think that kind of sums up what Kiddis thinks. Is that negative? I can't count those many zeros. And then there's obviously this thing that everyone's worried about. What happens when Salah and Mane are gone? I think it's only for 2 games, so that is a light at the end of the tunnel. But as we begin to wrap up the show, I just want to remind everybody here, if you're new to our stream, please like this video, subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you on. We do have another show called The Fan Zone, where we actually bring you guys on into one of these little square things here. We want to hear from you. We don't want to just see your text. We want to hear from you. So that's something that we're going to do later on in the week. Obviously got the training ground coming up, and we've also got the Red Sea podcast. The lads in the UK, they're always putting out content. So please like and subscribe to us. I think we might put a lid on it for now. Zane, I just want to thank you so much for joining us again. It was really, really great insight from you today. And we'd just love to have you back on the match debate, or maybe even have you on the training ground. We'd love to hear your thoughts on pre-game analysis as Pete and I get the tactics board out. What do you say?
Yeah, definitely. I really, really enjoyed it. I think the hour flew by very fast, but it does when you're having fun. So thank you very much for inviting me again.
We're very different on the training ground. We take off our fan hats and put on our coaches' hats on the training ground. It's like Jekyll and Hyde. So the people you see here in front of you are very different on the Thursday or Wednesday show.
Oh,
I know, just like right now, I said we're going to batter Leeds 4-0, and then I do the training ground, and I'm like, oh, wow, just where we attack, that exact zone, Leeds don't concede goals from there. So how are we going to do this?
I predict 1-1, by the way.
Oh, yeah, we
You
can do the predictions. I'm saying
Oh, yeah, very quick predictions for Leeds, guys.
Draw.
2-1 for us.
3-1.
3-1. We had T here early on saying Liverpool will win 3-0 against Leeds. You know what? I'm going to sign off with that one because I think they'll win 4-0, but I'll bring it back. I'll be a little bit more believable and say Liverpool will win at 3-0. But guys, thank you so much for joining us. Pete, it's been great to have you on as always. Nick, Zane, our debutant here on the Match Debate. And again, like and subscribe here for everything Red Sea podcast related. This has been the Match Debate. And thank you so much, guys, for being in the comments. We always want to communicate with you and chat to you live on the air. So keep on liking the videos, keep on communicating, keep on sharing our stuff. And yeah, we'll see you again for another Match Debate sometime soon. See you later.